Hi, Phil Aston here from Our Spinning magazine with another album review. And this is one I've been wanting to do for a while, but I've been playing the album most weeks actually since its release. And the more I've played it, the more things have come to mind of what I wanted to talk about. And I feel now is the time to tell people all about this. Now, many of you will be aware of this album, I'm sure, or know the characters who are in this. You know, this fantastic musical couple, which is Bonham and Bullick. Deborah Bonham and Peter Bulick. Now, Bonham, those of you who are new to this band, will obviously start to think of John Bonham. And that would be a good place to jump to, because this is Deborah Bonham, who is John Bonham's sister. And I'll admit that prior to this, I don't have that much by Deborah in my music collection, and I'd heard that this was coming out, and I'm, as you know, I am an absolute sucker for blues rock, really good blues rock, and you also know that I'm a massive Paul Kossoff fan and a huge fan of Free, Bad Company, Paul Rodgers, etc. So the connection from this is this album, Paul Rodgers' Free Spirit, where he did a tribute to his time in Free, and this was the climax of that tour was at the Royal Albert Hall. Now, the guitarist on this is Peter Bulick, and also Deborah Bonham sings on it as well. He's involved in it as well, and it's great. And I love Free, and obviously Paul Rodgers picked Peter because of his ability to almost uncannily channel Kossoff's sound or spirit. Now, Peter Bulick is not a copyist. He's his own person, and he plays with absolute feel. There are songs like I think it's Trouble Blues, where there are some very much kind of like Kossoff type licks on it. But apart from that, this is a unique standpoint. So I know there are some people who go, oh, well, you know, it's not as good as that, or this is their background, and I know all about that. You don't. And this is a mixture of cover versions of classic blues tracks and more modern, more obscure stuff, and their interpretation of it. Now, I find with a lot of blues rock stuff that I've listened to recently, kind of like there's a fast track, there's a slow track, there's a more heavy track, there's a more laid back track. They kind of, although it's all blues rock, it either sounds a bit kind of cliche or obvious. And obviously, with the amount of blues rock stuff I've heard in my time on planet Earth, I can easily guess where we're going. What this album does is it has a feel of a late night blues club, and you've got a glass of your finest malt whiskey next to you, and the lights are low. It's getting on, it's late, and there's the stars are in the sky or whatever, or you're just sitting there and you just want to chill out. And this album just ticks all of those boxes. I have to say that Deborah Bonham's voice on this album is just stunning. And I think that sometimes when you get a female blues singer, I'm not going to mention any names, but sometimes they can be over athletic or over excitable, and it kind of really, they go for the kind of the theatrics almost of reaching those notes and overemphasizing the songs or whatever, and it becomes a bit strained, and it might sound exciting at first, but after a bit, for repeated listenings, it kind of makes you kind of pull back. Deborah doesn't do that. Deborah sings with absolute feel in her voice, and we've got songs kind of here, that sound like, beating muddy water and sit yourself down and when this world comes to an end. But I believed everything she sang. She sings with a beautiful tonal voice that sings the blues in a way that I think many music fans will just connect to. And the other thing, and obviously because, you know, her and Peter are connected, is their ability to play off each other. I mean, Peter's guitar playing as Deborah sings the words. And you know, with a lot of blues songs, it's about when the vocalist lets go of the rail and just dives in to the phrases of the words, and then there's ad-libs, and then the guitarist weaves in and out, you know, a bit like Kossoff obviously used to do with Rodgers. Peter does that, and as you know, I love Free. I would say the newest connection, if I was going to say what this reminded me of, this reminded me of Backstreet Crawler. That's what some of the music reminds me of, is Backstreet Crawler, probably more Second Street, because it's got that kind of laid back feel. And the other thing I think that they've done an excellent job is the sequencing of this album. The songs all weave in. I think what I was saying earlier about some blues rock albums, they're kind of jarred, they kind of don't flow so well. But this has been so well thought out, but that's how it comes across to me, that each song blends in. So if you were in this mythical blues club with your malt whiskey by your side, you would feel like you were witnessing one of the best gigs you'd ever been to, I would say, because it's just flows. And I just love that. I think the thing is about songs that are kind of sound like they were recorded for the midnight hour, and they're kind of like there's a real kind of feel to them, is that when the guitar comes in, and this is I think where the Kossoff thing is, and why Paul Rodgers used Peter, you know, and why he sings his praises so highly, is that the guitar solos are that economical. Again, what I've said about female blues vocalists sometimes overdoing it. A lot of blues guitarists can overdo it and suddenly think they have to suddenly go from being a blues guitarist to suddenly seeing how many notes they can fit in that last two bars before we come back to the chorus or the next verse. Peter doesn't do that. He stays in the zone. And the zone for music like this is the human heart. Now, you could say that all music is designed for the human heart, and I suppose in many ways it is. But I think this kind of music, where you are using the human voice and the guitar to communicate in a very similar way. So as Deborah sings those lines in these songs, where you can feel the emotion and you'll identify things in your own lives, and you think, oh yeah, that reminds me of. The guitar comes in and says the words that actually can't be said in any human language, because the guitar touches us sometimes in a way that the voice can't, because it kind of extends the feeling. And I think this album does that. And this is 60 minutes long. This is very good value for money. If this is vinyl, it's obviously a double. But I think this is really good. Now, stream it. If you don't know anything about them, or if you've made it, you kind of like think, oh, it's blues rock, I probably know where this is heading. You know, it's like join the dots. You don't. But even if you do, even if you think, oh yes, I know that song, it's a cover version, whatever. The interpretation and the way they've arranged this is just brilliant. It's just absolutely brilliant. And before I've just done the video, I've just finished playing it again. And each time I do it, a different song rises to the top. But it's the overall vibe on this album. It's the overall vibe that it just blends together. 60 minutes. There are not that many artists who can put together and sequence an album of 13 tracks, 60 minutes long, and you don't either find yourself drifting off or putting something else on or whatever. You won't. You will enjoy the journey, and you'll enjoy the journey so much you might pour yourself another malt whiskey and press play again. So thank you very much for watching, and thank you for all your support. It means a lot to me, it really, really does. Say what you think in the comments, and I shall see you on my next video.